So free trade is an opportunity for Cameroon to trade with other countries across the world, but more importantly, it's an opportunity for our businesses to access larger markets. Now, can Cameroon truly benefit from free trade? The answer, I think, is yes. We've already been benefiting from free trade for the last 10 to 20 years. Cameroon has free trade agreements with several countries across the world, and more recently, we signed a free trade agreement with the European Union and also the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is designed to give our businesses access to about 1.2 billion Africans and also reduce tariffs on over 90% of products that we trade with them. In order for Cameroon to truly benefit from free trade, we have to reform. We have to reform our education, we have to reform our business, we have to reform our procedures, and we have to reform our regulations. What does this mean? It means that it should be easy for businesses to open up in Cameroon, but also to pay and to register and pay their taxes. It should also be easy for an investor to come into Cameroon and invest into any sector without having to face huge bureaucratic hurdles. Finally, we also have to ensure that businesses have the tools that they need to innovate and compete effectively against their peers internationally. This doesn't mean that we have to use subsidies extensively, but it means that we can use targeted subsidies and other mechanisms such as capacity building, events, and trainings to ensure that our local businesses are competitive enough, both locally, regionally, and internationally. That's how we're going to benefit from free trade. Now, so if we take a much more sector-specific approach, Cameroon cannot survive without manufacturing. The majority of the food we consume in Cameroon is imported, which means that we have to try and produce some of these products where we can do them effectively. Because it doesn't make sense to import all of the fruits that we consume if we can grow some locally or consume products like cereal and rice, which would be better produced here and equally accessible here. Now, free trade is beneficial to consumers because it makes prices for goods to fall. It's cheaper to consume biscuits and rice if you have 20 countries across the world exporting their rice to Cameroon. And so consumers are going to benefit because goods are going to be cheaper. And in a country where 40% of people live below the poverty line, this is going to boost and really lift their standards of living. Now, for businesses, it means that they're going to face a lot more competition from our peers regionally, but also internationally. How can we ensure that businesses don't fail or go bankrupt 2 years after their operations, which is a norm in Cameroon? We have to ensure that businesses have the skills they need to become competitive. It's no longer enough to simply make a product, which could be cereal or a bottle of juice or a bottle of natural juice or snacks. Now it's about making it competitive enough whilst respecting international standards and guidelines. And so we have to make sure that our businesses are aware of the different rules, requirements, and regulations to ensure that they can fully leverage the opportunities that are latent in free trade agreements. Yes, Cameroon. Our made in Cameroon policy is designed to ensure that we boost and we support local firms. For example, Nan Agric, which makes packaged gari, or a range or host of other businesses that produce locally made products. The reason why we have the made in Cameroon policy is because we should and we want to consume local products. But that's not incompatible with free trade. If our local products are consumed and these entrepreneurs are continuously improving these local products, then it means that they can eventually export these products to other markets. If these entrepreneurs find a market for themselves here in Cameroon, it means that they have the finances to grow and expand. It means that they've tested their product on a large enough market to understand how the consumer is going to react. And thirdly, it means that they also can face up to competition from other countries because over time they would have developed the skills, the capacity, and the technical know-how to remain relevant and competitive. So, made in Cameroon and the African Continental Free Trade Area or the Economic Partnership Agreement are not mutually exclusive. If anything, when we import products from other countries, we learn about how those products are made. when we import chargers or we import a particular food product from another country, we learn how it's made, and that enables us to produce that locally. And so our Made in Cameroon strategy and our Made in Cameroon policy, which is really an import substitution policy, and our free trade agreements are not mutually exclusive. If anything, they're compatible.